What's going on, everybody? I am DJ Composition.
And I am the youngest, well, not the youngest in the building today, but the youngest of the OGs.
And we are the two bright guys, and we have a very special guest with us today.
What's going on? I'm Kelvin Grady.
Yeah. We got Kelvin in the building today. We were having a conversation about some social injustice. A lot of things been going on in the media, and he got a hell of a story. So I was like, man, you should come to the podcast, tell a story, and kind of, at some point, too, kind of clear your name, too. You know what I mean? Because some things have been said. You've kind of been projected one way, and this is a good way for you to kind of tell your story and clear your story up. So for the people that don't know you, kind of give them a little background, like where you come from, and how we kind of got to this point.
So I'm from Grand Rapids. I was born and raised here. I come from an athletic family. I have 6 brothers and sisters, and my father heavily pushed sports, so I was heavily active, always in the gym working out, trying to put myself in a position where I could chase my dreams. My goal always was to be able to play basketball and football at the highest level, and to be able to do that, I had a father that pushed me and put me in some good positions. I went to East Grand Rapids, all the way from elementary all the way up to high school.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know you went to East Grand Rapids Elementary.
Yeah, all the way elementary.
So people kind of think like you kind of moved over there, or your dad kind of got you over there.
No. I started from all the way from when I was a little jit,
Little jit.
K through 12.
K through 12.
So you wasn't like a transplant. You wasn't
real good.
See, and I've known you for a long time, and I just assumed that we never talked about that aspect, but I didn't know you went to East Grand Rapids Elementary and middle and all that. So
he's had good school lunches.
Good
for
school.
a very long time.
Good school lunches.
Why did you tell me the cheese was this good?
None of that land in the water.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay, so that's why y'all was so good at sports, huh? Okay,
Yeah.
so
That's
had
unacceptable.
this is not. You see what kind of water we had to
This
get
is
in the
not
game.
Gouda
This is not
on my square pizza.
This is not government cheese. It wasn't even no square pizza in East Grand Rapids. But I didn't know that though. I didn't know that you went to East GR in elementary and middle. So what kind of high school? We'll get to like your high school records. What sports did you play in high school, and what were some of your accolades? And
So I played basketball and football in high school. Played varsity as a freshman for basketball for my freshman year. Senior year, I played all 4 years varsity basketball. A lot of people don't notice about me, but I really didn't like football. Football wasn't something I liked doing, so I wasn't really chasing that aspect of it because that wasn't something I really liked doing it. I just happened to be good at it. My boys played it, so after basketball season, they'd go play football. I'm like, shit, I gotta be doing something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So I would play football, but through my years in high school, I was a 2,500 yard rusher. And
you had that in one season, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So listen to what he just said. He had 2,500 yards in one season, 2,000 yards rushing. I just want to put that out there. You know what I'm saying? 2,000 yards rushing in one season, 2,500 total yards. Was that your senior year, or was that?
So I was doing that, yeah. So my brother was there before. He got the all-time rushing record in Michigan.
In the state of Michigan. His older brother, Kevin.
Yeah. So I was behind that. I was the tail end of that, and basically having to follow behind his footsteps. So I knew I really couldn't sit in his footsteps, but I knew that I was going to compete and try and at least be there and maintain the legacy that he built. So I got my opportunity to run with it my senior year. That's when I was able to get some success with it. But a lot of it was because I didn't want to get hit. I was a basketball player. I was the finesse, athletic.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
And you didn't want to get tackled.
To not get hit is to run faster than everybody.
Run fast. And when you hit that sideline, get out of bounds.
Right.
So you were jumping out of bounds.
I'm out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
10 to 15, and I'm out of bounds with it.
And you accomplished that with that not really being your main focus.
Yeah,
so let me ask you this quick question. If football was your main focus, how many yards do you think you would have got?
I would have beat my brother. Right?
You would have beat your brother?
Yeah, I would have crushed it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But that wasn't. And that's a bold statement.
That is very bold.
I'm gonna tell you this though. There ain't nothing taken away from my brother.
Not at all.
It's
Your
the
brother,
great, you know
he's on the top list of the all-time running backs in the state of Michigan.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But we was 2 different style runners. You know what I mean? He gonna bang, bang, bang. You know what I mean? He might get a couple, but I'm like, It's 60 yards to go. I'm taking it to the house. You know what I mean? Quick pitch, I'm out of there. You know what I mean? I was that style runner, so that was just me. He'll sit here and tell you, like, if my brother had a couple more years, he might have would have got my record. You know what I mean?
So did you play varsity football as a freshman as well, or?
No, I didn't play varsity football until I was a sophomore. I had the opportunity to play varsity my freshman year, and I turned it down. I regret that because my goal was like basketball. So I'm like, I need to be in the gym. You know what I mean? I need to be getting better. And that's something that I would tell parents now today or whoever, don't limit your kids to play one sport. Allow them to play as many sports as they want to, because it's only gonna make them better for the other sports. You know what I mean? You gotta be able to be accustomed to doing different things. Don't settle yourself to one thing, because what if that one thing don't work out? You know what I mean? What if you go to find out you really don't like that? You know, I like basketball more, but I would have had more opportunities had I been really focusing on football.
Okay. So, what were some of your scholarship offers coming out of high school, basketball and football?
So I had opportunities: Michigan State, Notre Dame, Xavier. Those were really the ones that I really was focusing on.
Were those the basketballs or the?
Both, mixed. I had a mixture of both. Yep, I got a lot of opportunities. You know, crates and crates full of letters and all over the country. You know,
so you had offers from how many schools would you say?
In total, probably like 15, 20 offers.
15 Division I, basketball and football offers.
Yeah, basketball and football, yep. A mixture between the two, yep.
Okay, and you chose?
And I chose Michigan. So I chose Michigan my sophomore year playing basketball. So I got on the circuit earlier. When I say circuit, travel basketball, where I was out in different states every weekend, my whole summer. So no summer I ever had from the time I started travel basketball to my senior year, I never really had weekends off. It was like I was in Florida, then I was in Vegas, then I was in DC, so I was on that circuit early. Okay. So I was able to develop them relationships and see a lot of people believe, okay, you got to be the absolute best. See, I played with Derrick Rose. I was with Isaiah Thomas, Kevin Love. That's my class. You know what I mean? So I had some dogs in my class.
Yeah.
What helped me was I was able to network. You know what I mean? I was able to go on these tournaments and associate myself with some dogs. Right. You know, like, so I played for Michigan Hurricanes, was my travel basketball team. Draymond actually at the time played for Michigan Hurricanes. You know what I mean? So I played with Draymond. I played with those guys. You know? So I was able to, put myself in a position to where I was working hard, but I was working smart too. Right? Okay. I was able to rub shoulders with the right people who was being looked at by the right people. And to be able to put myself
and have that association,
to me, you know. So that's also part of it, because you want to work as hard as you can, but you got to work as smart as you can too.
Right. Yeah. So the nature of travel basketball today is like everything. It seems like every basketball player that wants to achieve or get to the next level, like that's kind of part of the blueprint now.
Right.
What was a pro and what was a con of travel basketball that you think, you could give that advice to a up-and-coming basketball player?
I mean, the pro to it is you're going to have every opportunity in the world to be in front of the people who can put you in a position where you want to go, as far as coaches, as far as scouts, and as far as the media. Right, you're going to be put in a position to do what you want to do. Right. But you got to be ready to rumble when it's that time. Right. You know what I mean?
Like, when the bright lights are on.
When the lights are on, you got to perform, because you only got a short window. See, sometimes a coach might come and see you, and he might be looking at you for 10 seconds. You better do something real ill in 10 seconds.
In 10 seconds.
To get him to change that 10 seconds to 20 seconds. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of it. And the cons I say to it is you gotta be devoted. You got to be heavily invested, because you don't really have a life. Right. I didn't have a life as a high school student, as traveling and doing that, because I was always on the road. I was in somebody's van, or I was in somebody's plane, or I was on somebody's gym, or I was in practice. I traveled all the way to the east side of town to practice.
Yeah.
A couple times during the week.
East side of the state, you mean?
East side of the state.
So, yeah, so you really didn't have a summer.
No summer. There wasn't none of that. Going to the pool, going to the beach.
Yeah.
I wasn't at no house parties. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I was in somebody's gym. You know what I mean? And that's a con. You know what I mean? Just because I didn't get a lot of the opportunities as a kid to experience and just kind of live and be a kid. You know?
Yeah.
It was always like, all right, what's my next thing I'm doing to be able to get to where I want to go, which is a good thing.
Right. Yeah.
But you also gotta have that. You gotta have that experience of being a kid and just living and having those opportunities of being with your friends and being with your family and going to movies and, you know what I mean, being able to do those other things.
So when you got to Michigan, we fast forward, you signed to Michigan, so you got offered your sophomore year for Michigan for basketball.
Right.
Were they looking at you for football too at that time? Like your junior, senior year, were they like, yo, you can come play both, or?
Right, yep. So they was looking at me for both. So at the time they was looking at me for both. I had the opportunity to do either, you know, and I had to make the choice. A lot of people say, well, your brother was there, that's why you decided to go. No, I always been my own man. You know, I made a connection with Tommy Emmerich, was the coach at the time. Mm-hmm. I went and sat in his desk. I went and sat in his office, and he looked at me and he's like, man, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? So it was like I almost had to close it myself.
Yeah.
He wanted me to say I wanted to be here.
Yeah.
You know, why do you want to be here? Why do you think you're a Michigan man? Why do you think you deserve to be here and wear this jersey? Mm. You know what I mean? Yeah. At that point, I was selling myself because he like, look, I know you can play. Do you want to be here? And if you want to be here, let's shut it down. So we basically closed each other that day.
Was this your sophomore year?
My sophomore year.
Were you went there alone, or was your dad there?
Yeah. So I had talked to him. You know what I mean? Obviously, I made the decision after that. But at that point there, I knew what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? I had already known about the university, so my brother was in college there. Right. So I was up there. Before I even got to Michigan, they knew who I was, like as far as like places I would go.
Because you hung out with your brother.
Right, my brother was there. He was the running back, you know what I'm saying? Mike Hart was there at the time, you know what I mean? Dave Harris was there at the time.
Shout out to them. Yeah.
All those guys was there, so they knew me. I was baby bro, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was already, I knew the campus. I knew the school. I was at the games. I knew, you know what I mean? I knew how everything worked. And then,
it wasn't foreign to you when you got there.
It wasn't foreign to me, you know what I mean? So I had already seen that. That was the place I wanted to be. So Tommy was basically like, man, what do you want to do?
Okay.
And where do you want to go? And do you think we can take you there? So I made that decision my sophomore year, and I got that monkey off my back.
Because you didn't have to sit there and kind of contemplate because you had. So we had other offers, but I want to know if you didn't go to Michigan, what was your next option?
I was going to Xavier.
You just going to Xavier for basketball?
I was going to Xavier, and that next year they ended up going to, I think, the Elite Eight or something like that. They got
Jordan Crawford, right?
Yep. They ended up going to like the Elite Eight, but that was the school I was going to less. What threw me off is I got to the campus and it was boring. Mm-hmm. So as a kid in high school, I'm thinking like, college got to be lit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking around like, shit, I don't see the bros around, like for the party, the music, what's going on? It wasn't lit, so I'm like, man, nah. I can't mess with it. You know what I mean? So my pops left it up to me. He like, what you want to do? You know, I'm like, I'm looking around like, let's go back home. You know what I'm
saying? So what was your other visits then? You went to Xavier. What other visits did you take?
That's the only visits that I took.
So you didn't take any other visits? None of the Oregons and none of that?
I didn't take none of them visits.
Do you regret that?
I regret it to this day. Yeah, I regret because not even just to the fact that I was like I wanted to go somewhere else, but it was just like that experience. You know what I mean?
Right.
They put you, in a room and you go into a game and you meet with other players. Like that's an experience when you're able to go on a visit. Like if I gave advice, it'd be take all your visits, like get all that experience out because those visits, like it's in those visits right there. Like that's something that you never can take back.
Like he got game almost.
I mean,
drink your tea on that. There you go.
You got to decide,
right? He said, we ain't gonna talk about that. So, what were the other visits that you would like to have taken? So you went to Michigan, Xavier.
I probably would have wanted to go like down south, like try to get to like a Florida State. You know what I mean? Get to one of those like an Oregon. You know what I mean?
Out west.
Yep. Get to out west. Just to get some, just to really like travel. You know what I mean? Because at that point, I mean, I was traveling, but to actually go and enjoy myself and learn about the university and just get educated on it. Because I got a daughter now. You know what I mean? To be able to say I went to those universities and say, hey, look, Peyton, my daughter's name is Peyton. Mm-hmm. Hey, P, like. This university has this to offer. Daddy went here. I checked it out. Obviously, some things would change, but I can educate her on the decision she want to make and be like, "Hey, look, we can go out here. Let's go out here." And then I can, you know what I mean?
So you can encourage that.
So I can encourage that.
So you get to Michigan, and then so you're a freshman now. We're gonna start with your freshman year. Mm-hmm. Did you play a lot? Did you play some? How did that work your freshman year?
So when I first got there, so America was the coach originally, and then he ended up leaving.
Yeah, he went to I think Harvard Ivy League school. Yeah,
he went to Harvard, and Coach Beeline came in, and I was actually on my trip. I was on a trip for spring break in Mexico when I found out, and I'm talking to Beeline. He's like, "Hey, I'm the new coach. I really, I'm excited to be here. I'm hoping you're excited to be here. We want you still to come here. Experience it." So long story short, I'm like, yeah, I'm still coming. You know, I still want to be here, and I'm going. My freshman year, I had somebody named Jared Smith was the point guard at the time. He had been there for a little bit. I think he might have been a junior at the time. So he was a starting guard, and he was playing. I wasn't supposed to play. I was supposed to get redshirted. Long story short, something happened with him where it kind of didn't work out that well, and we was going in to play Duke at the time. We was going in to play Duke at the time, which was my first start. And coach like, "Is you ready?" And I'm like,
"Cause your mind frame,
your mind wasn't ready to say, you know what I mean?
Right.
My mind wasn't ready to say, look, man, I'm about to go into Duke and I'm about to play.
So it was there.
It was at Duke.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm at Duke.
So what? Is this the first game of the season, second game?
No, I think this was like a couple games down the line.
So you were playing in the red shirt already?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting little dibbles, but it wasn't on no starter role type stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I went in there, because like Duke was another school that I like looked up to as a kid. Dick Vitale, it's crazy, baby. Like I looked up. That was something that I always wanted to experience. But so when it was like my first start was at Duke, I'm like, man. So
who was the point guard?
Man,
it wasn't Kyrie at the time.
Nope, it was
Daniel Ewing maybe, or John Shire.
Nope, it was the white guard.
Not JJ Redick.
No, you way up. No, that's.
They have a lot of those.
Yeah, but like, a lot of.
I mean, you didn't.
Bobby Hurley.
I mean, you said that like the Duke don't have white guards.
Right.
So who was the focal point of the team at that time at Duke? Was it Sheldon Randolph? Richards was it maybe?
Richards was there. Dang, it's been a minute, man.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So your first start, the one guard was there. He leaves, and Beeline comes to you and say, "Your first start is at
on
Duke."
The bus.
Oh, on
not before.
Not before.
No,
like,
it wasn't like get some sleep.
So you got the headphones. You like,
and then he tapped you on your shoulder.
Excuse me.
Right.
So you wake up.
I'm like, what's good? He like, you ready? I'm like, I mean, I've been ready, coach.
You gotta say that.
Right,
you gotta say that.
Ready.
Yeah.
Well, no, are you ready to start? I'm like, yeah. But then I put my headphones on. I'm thinking I'm hyped, but I'm like, what just happened? You know what I'm saying? Quick.
You got thrown to the fire.
Got thrown to the fire, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was using the bathroom.
Sick. I mean, that's honest. Hey, that's what we here for. When people don't understand that everybody talk that talk. Oh, my first start is at Duke, and then you thinking you're not gonna play.
It was Duke, right?
It was Duke, all right.
It was Duke, big Duke.
So then you on the bus. So you on the bus.
Oh my God!
So y'all on the bus from the airport. The plane get down there. Yeah. The other guard just don't make the trip. Have you noticed that he's not there, or he's like, I'm done?
So the bus was waiting
for him,
and turns out he didn't end up taking the trip. You know what I'm saying? Didn't end up showing up. So I already kind of knew like it was like speculations that something was going on.
Yeah, with him.
But then it came to light, that door shut.
Boom.
He walked to me and I said, it's that time. You know
so he tells you your first start is at Duke. You're a freshman at Michigan. And it's 4 or 5 games in, your first start is at Duke. How did that go for you? So when you, like, after you use the bathroom, after you throw up, you got the bubble guts. And like I said, I consider us to be friends. We're cool. I never heard this story.
Right.
Like, so your first start is at Duke.
Yep.
In the layup line, what happened? Like, how did it go?
I mean, it was all a dream. I'm not gonna lie to you. It felt like a dream the entire first half to me. Yeah. like it was like a dream the entire first half. You know what I mean? Everything was really like going through the motions. Like I was doing my thing, but like I was going through the motions. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I didn't actually feel like I was there. I'm like, I'm dreaming because I actually was just watching this on TV, and I'm actually here playing. Like the crazies, the Duke crazies, camera crazy. Yeah, they right there. So like the court, let's just say this the court, like the fans is right here.
It's a very small gym.
So they can touch you. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's loud in there. Like
get that phone out my face, bro.
Westbrook
and them fans research you. You know what I'm saying? Like in high school they say little jokes, but them fans they really research you. They know about you before you go in there. And they saying some personal shit about you.
About
you
your brother, your family,
everything. Everything. They find out anything about you. See your daddy bald head. You know what I mean? Like my dad bald head.
Yeah.
Like, we see your dad's bald lemon head over there. Like
wow.
It gets personal, but it's all part of the game. It's all part of the fun.
Gotcha.
I mean, but it was a good experience.
So you play against Duke as a freshman. You go out there. Did you guys win? I could remember.
We lost that game.
You lost that game. How do you feel like you played that game?
Man, I was my biggest critic after that, but I had so much to think about afterwards. You know what I mean?
It gave you a nice starting
time,
base.
Just did starting place to say, okay, like, first of all, like, this is the things that you could have did better, broke down the film and all those things. But more so, look, you here now.
Right.
It ain't none of that.
Arrived.
I'm dreaming. Like, you arrived. Like,
you gotta wake
this
up.
Is everything you worked for. You know what I mean? Like the countless hours in the gym. Like you practically lost your childhood to be able to be in this position. Ain't no turning back.
Yeah.
Once you hop off that porch, ain't no turning around.
No.
And that's
too close to quit, too far to go back.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's a good way to put it too, because you worked very hard and you had to become a man very fast. Like just 6 to 8 months ago, you were playing in the state championship at the Breslin as a high school student, and then your mind frame is, okay, I'm going down to Duke, but I know I'm not gonna get in. I might get in for a second to help, but I know my sophomore year I'm gonna be what I need to be. I gotta get stronger.
Right.
You are 6 months removed from going to class in high school.
Right.
You're starting at Duke. Yeah, I would have been nervous too. I'd have at least filed out.
But that was one of my best experiences. You know what I mean? Because it was something that it made me.
Right.
It made me because it was like, dude, like you here. You know what I mean? Like it's go time.
Yeah.
So what happened after that game?
So after that game,
In like
That's what I was gonna say.
summary of the season your freshman year.
so my freshman year was pretty defense. You know, I got the assist award, all-time assist award that year in basketball, presented by Beeline and the University of Michigan. I started majority of the season. I played majority numbers. I got better. That was the goal, to get better, because like I said, I wasn't prepared to play. I wasn't like, my mind wasn't. I was like,
right.
I'm gonna trickle in and get better. But I just learned. My learning curve just had to like get better, and I learned a lot. Beeline is a genius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like he really put me in a position to be successful. You know what I mean? I was a bonehead at times, just because at the time his style didn't meet my style. I was more of a up and down, like.
Yeah.
And that was his style originally, right? So
right.
Beeline came into Michigan originally like, okay, this is what I did in my previous years, West Virginia. This is kind of what I'm sticking to, no matter what. This is what I do, no matter what. And as you see throughout the years, it's kind of changed, and he's evolved into being that. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I was playing in this era, because
this system
was, it's evolved. You know what I mean? And that's why he's had such a success that he has, because Beeline is like, he's a student of the game, but he'll listen as well. And if it makes sense to what he's doing, then he'll make them changes and he'll make them adjustments.
Like a player-friendly coach.
He's a player-friendly coach.
So you go into your sophomore year, and how does that season go?
Sophomore year went decent. Down the line, as I finally got down throughout the season, I just realized that it just wasn't something that was for me. So I wasn't playing as much. You know what I mean? I had the stress of not playing. And that was hard for me, just because, like I said, I was battling the fact that he had a system and style he was doing, and I was fighting it. You know what I mean?
Fighting the system.
I was fighting the system. You know what I mean? And I wasn't just taking my time and saying, like, this is what you need to do. Just do what you got to do. Get through. Get better. You're going to get better because you got a great coach. You know? I didn't do that. I was young, and I was dumb, and I'm like, man, no, I got to get mine. I was cocky because, like, I went from not playing. Now I'm playing. Now I'm that guy.
You're the big man on campus.
So I'm like, man, no, I'm about to do what I want to do. You know what I mean? And he's like, no, you're not. Come here. Do this.
Have a seat.
Yeah, have a seat. And
so now you humble, because now you got your people from the crib like, bro, damn, you ain't playing. Why you sitting down? What's going on? You know
got people in your ear.
Now you got people in your ear. Now you ain't playing. So now you like
feeding your ego.
Feeding your ego. Bro, you supposed to be playing. Dude ain't supposed to be out there playing, but
that guy's following the system.
Right.
You know so you make the transition from your sophomore year to your junior year of football, or how did it go? Because you were going to transfer at first, right?
So what happened was, my pops was like, look, what you want to do? And I'm like, man, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here, pops. I can't stay. You know what I'm saying? I regret that to this day, but I'm like, I got to get out of here. So, I ended up having the opportunity to go to Notre Dame, and basically got through that process. When I got through that process, you know what I'm saying, it got towards the end. It was another guard that they were trying to get at the time. That guard ended up coming.
Okay.
Last minute. So he like, Grady, you can't do nothing. And that was like my last resort at that point, because I'm like, I got to the end of the process.
So you
know
kind of cut everybody else off. This is where I'm going.
This is where I'm going. So when that completed, I'm like, I ain't had nothing. So basically, I was a college dropout at that point. So I came to the crib. I was working at Amway. I don't know if you knew. I don't know if I ever told you.
You told me a little bit about that, but you could tell the people.
Yeah. So when I got out, I was working at Amway. So I was putting caps on bottles.
At the factory.
Third. Yeah. I was working third shift. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing that for a while. So I'm doing that. My big brother was at Michigan at the time still. And he hit me up. He like, bro, you want to play football? I'm like, man, if you don't get that shit out of here, dude, you're not about to play no football.
Right.
Yeah.
He like, you like what you doing? I'm like, hell no.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So end up having a conversation with Rodriguez. He like, you know, what you think? He's like, just give it a try. It was the summer. And I'm
Did
like,
he know about you already?
Yeah, he knew about me. Yeah, because he had already been trying to get me to play. You know what I'm saying?
Did he try to get you like at West Virginia or when he got right to Michigan?
At Michigan, yeah.
Okay.
Because he had heard about me. My brother was telling him about me. You know,
Gotcha.
Did he probably looked you up?
Looked me
2,000 yards. That's not a fluke.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened was, it was like one day, man, they changed me to a whole different, like, I don't know. At the point, I don't know if it was my day or what, but they told me like I had to put this jacket on. They put a net on my face and my head, and I'm just thinking in my head like I was just at Duke. I was just at the University of Michigan. I was at the
Notre Dame, all that.
Bro, I threw all that shit off me, bro. Threw the jacket off me, threw the net off me, and walked up out of there. Called my brother. I said, man, I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? So Rodriguez ended up giving me the opportunity to come down, but he's like, look, I'm not giving you nothing. Like, you gotta prove yourself.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta prove yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
Here
we go again. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm back to the drawing board. But I went up there, you know what I mean? I worked my ass off, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got better. You know, all the running stuff, I was killing.
Because you already had a nice
had
speed,
that.
yeah.
But the lifting stuff, I was way behind. You know what I'm saying? They compromised on that. I never been I always hated lifting. You know, I didn't start lifting until I got out of college.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If you see my Instagram, that's what I do.
Work out now,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Okay.
But when I was in school, I hated lifting. I hated lifting.
And most basketball players do. They kind of feel like it messes up their shot, or you know, and you need to, but they think mentally it messes up your shot. And you have to be somewhat physical in basketball, but football you definitely need it.
Yeah. So, long story short, man, I went through the whole summer. I did well. You know what I mean? I put myself in a position to where, you know, I at least was competing. And Rodriguez was like, "You got a scholarship."
Wow.
So I ended up playing. You know what I'm saying? Now I got a scholarship for football, and then when you switch sports, which hardly ever happens, when you switch sports, they grant you another year eligibility. So I had an extra year eligibility.
Gotcha.
So I ended up graduating in 2011 and getting into a master's program that following year, going into from my senior year to that extra year.
So you did your 2 years of basketball and you kind of sat out almost like a semester maybe, or that summer you were kind of out of it.
Yeah.
And right before the school year started, you went back to Michigan and worked your tail off and got a scholarship in a short amount of time. And people don't know, I'm going to say this, they don't know, you and your brother are the first set of brothers to score touchdowns in the same game in Michigan. Mm-hmm. That's a hell of an accomplishment. I think that should be noted because some people don't understand. Michigan is top 5 universities for academics, sports, everything. Mm-hmm. Beeline just went to the national championship game. But you guys are the first brothers to ever score a touchdown together at Michigan. And you caught Denard Robinson's first touchdown too, right?
Yep. That was Denard Robinson's first touchdown.
So let me ask you this. Energy-wise, what's the difference between playing at the big house and then being on the court in a Duke situation or whatever? How can you describe the difference of those energies?
So you put that's an interesting conversation, man, because it's two different. It's wired differently, right? But it's nothing like walking into the big house. 110,000, right? Right. Michigan is a football school. I know it's kind of evolving now. Yeah. It's kind of like, you know what I mean, which is good. And props to Beeline and the basketball. That's great. But it's nothing like walking into the big house to 110,000.
So imagine playing and you hitting the banner.
Oh man, that was another throw up. My first game. Oh my god, that was another throw up. Because when you go up to warm up, you know what I mean. You know they got they warm up stuff. They out there catching the ball. It's only a couple people trickling through. You know what I mean. It ain't full yet.
Right.
So you kind of feel comfortable.
Yeah, you out there. Yeah, it's all good. And then you go in there and put your stuff on, and you come out there and walk out. You know when they extending by the entrance.
And they got the security holding people back.
And you look up, and it's 110,000. You got 110,000 people in the stadium doing this.
It's shaking.
All those people.
Yeah.
You like, hold on, where do these people come from? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You go to school here.
Yeah,
I don't see all these people.
you know what I'm saying? So it's an experience. Even if you just going to a game, you know what I mean? That's one heck of an experience. But man, that was like unmatched.
You scored a basket versus Duke, and you scored a touchdown at the big house.
Yep. I did. I got that opportunity to do that. That's
a lot of people can't
A lot
say
of people
that.
can't say that.
Not, you scored. A lot of people can't say that.
I mean, first and foremost, it's a lot of people who can't say that they can play D1 anything.
And they had to prove themselves on the football
Right.
field.
So you scored a bucket in Duke, scored a touchdown. Like if it's a bucket list of shit to do for a grown man or just an athlete, you got. You got a couple of these things knocked off. You know what I'm saying?
I watched the game, I think, at UCLA. I think I watched you play that game on TV. And I watched you had a big, well, before I get there, I don't want to diminish this. You were out of football from high school, and Beeline said, come prove yourself, and you went and proved yourself. That's huge. That should be noted, too. But so I watched the UCLA game, and then I watched you had a big catch the Notre Dame game. The Notre Dame game at night. Yep. So how did that feel to kind of put them away?
Oh man!
When you were supposed to go play basketball,
especially you were supposed to go there. So I know it's a little extra
because the people in the crowd kind of knew you. So the Notre Dame fans kind of knew you, and the basketball coach was probably like, I should have just took this dude.
No, it was because we was down like 3-4 touchdowns. Man, it was the first under the lights game there, so it was lit.
The first in history, right?
Yeah, it was the first under the lights game.
So you did not only did you score a touchdown in Michigan, but you played in the very first under the lights game.
Yeah, yep. So able to play in that game, and that was a heck of an experience too, because it was like at that game, and the rotation of everything, like at that point I was just getting off an injury, so I wasn't really in the rotation that much. So when I got that opportunity, we talked about being at opportunities and how.
And seizing those moments and
being ready, right? Because we talked about high school, right?
Right.
Having a coach on the court with you, and he watching that first 10 seconds and getting him to stay because your window's small.
Yeah.
I had my window right there, and it was like, this is your moment. Like,
this might be the only down you get.
This might be the only down you get. You know what I'm saying? So I happened to be doing it. It was third and long. We needed the first down to score, and I came off a post route. Man, Denard threw it.
Did you just say, I gotta catch this? Just catch the ball.
I'm like, just catch it.
Just
catch it. John saw the lights, and as the ball dropped, just to all the people. And I'm like, I caught that thing. Man.
You ran how many yards?
That's history. Probably like 10 yards, and then got out of bounds. But it probably was a 40.
You still kept it out of bounds?
Oh, yeah, you got to keep that out of bounds. That was my mentality.
Right. So it's probably like a 30-yard pass.
You said kept that out of bounds.
So let me ask you this question, because being a player a football player at Michigan, there are a couple things that you know for sure, just as sure as water is wet. Okay, the game against Michigan State is very intense, and the game against Ohio State is like crazy. So I want you to describe the difference as a player, and you could even bring basketball into the fold too. That those rivalries, like, what's the difference between those two schools, and like, how did you prepare yourself those first times in those situations? Because I know that football for Michigan, you don't want to lose to Michigan State, and you damn sure don't want to lose to Ohio State.
Right.
He told me the story about, and I'm gonna let you tell the story on here about how you guys have to go to Ohio State, how it happens, like how you travel there and what happens. So I'll let you go ahead.
It's history, man. A lot of it is the history, right, and continuing tradition, right? Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, like that's all based off history, man.
Right.
And tradition that's built up, man, and it's that competitive history, you know, and like that's serious. Like the weeks of those games is intense. You know what I mean? Like the focus level is even more. You know what I mean? Like the concentration level is there even more. You know, and in some cases, you know, you want to be there in class, but in a lot of cases, like class at that time is like kind of on the back burner a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got some people that go to, that most go to class and stuff like that, but you got some people that their mind is set on the game. Like, this is important because this is important to me. I'm a part of history. I'm a part of this opportunity, and I want to seize this moment. You know what I mean?
And if you don't perform in those games, that's your ass.
Well, the Notre Dame game is big too, because that was a rivalry it's not there anymore. That's just as big.
Yeah,
but
it's a big rivalry. But like when you start talking about
Ohio State,
the greatest rivalries in sports,
it's the Ohio State
you got
game.
like the Red Sox and Yankees. It's like Michigan, Ohio State.
It's
they're up there.
No, it's top 5. It's Calvin Hope, which is in Grand Rapids. They're on that list as well.
Really?
Calvin College versus Hope College is on that list. Michigan, Ohio State is 1. Duke, North Carolina basketball is 2. I think Calvin Hope is like 3 or 4.
Okay.
And the greatest rivalries in sports. But so you've played in those rivalries.
Right.
Explain that trip to Ohio State.
Man, that's unreal, man. So we got the bus. So usually you do like offensive bus, defensive bus. We surrounded by like police officers. So there's a police officer in front of the bus. There's a police officer on the side, both sides.
And this is leaving Ann Arbor.
This is like from the time we get to Ohio, like when we about to cross to go into Ohio,
they're waiting.
They waiting for us.
Ohio State Police.
The police, yeah. And they take us in.
Okay.
All the way in. And then when we coming outside of like cause like when you come out the locker room, Ohio State, like they're like looking over top of you, so they throwing stuff. They make us keep our helmets on. They throwing stuff down at us and all, yelling all type of stuff, man. It's an experience, man. Like it's more about the history, man. Like I said, like you have a history and a tradition that you want to be able to be a part of. You know what I mean? It's more want to be a part of history, and be able to say I was a part of this history. And I was either successful with this part of history, or I wasn't. You know what I mean? And you want to be on the tail end where you had some success.
Right.
So you beat Notre Dame. Did you win a game against State?
No.
You lost to State in football twice. Both years.
Both years.
And you lost to Ohio State.
Yep, I beat Ohio State one time.
You beat Ohio State one time at Ohio State, which is Rich Rod's first year. So you won. So you got to win at Ohio State.
You got to win Ohio State.
Off the list.
Hey, hold up.
He said off the list.
Yeah. You beat Notre Dame. You caught the game decisive pass, not the touchdown, but the pass before the touchdown. Got that off the list. The first under the lights game. You played at Duke. Did you beat Michigan State in basketball?
Nope.
TK will love to hear that too.
I know you.
TK gonna love to hear that too.
No, I never beat Michigan State basketball or football.
But you beat Ohio State basketball and football. Okay. All right. So now
Off the record.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. No, it's all good.
They gotta have it. Okay.
I gotta take my wins with my losses.
There you go. And you've done a great job at that so far with just the stories you're telling. It shows your character and what you kind of been through. You kind of don't talk about this stuff too, so we kind of want to transition into you getting your league shot. So how did that? And we talked about this a little bit off air too. Some other stuff that happened, but. So your football career's over, and it's time for the combine, that type of stuff. What's in your mind frame, and what's going on before, or the situations that happen leading up to that?
So situation leading up to that. So we end up having a combine, which at Michigan. So it's the big one, and then there's local ones. So like each school will host like a combine. Yeah, well you do the same things, but it's just like it's more on the local level. So I mean, my focus there was obviously I wanted to go to the league. You know what I mean? Right. So I wanted to put myself in a position where I could. So I trained, and I got to the point where I was ready. So I ran a 4.3840.
Did you 4.3840? That's not shabby numbers. A 4.3840.
Yep. So I ran a 4.3840, and then I can't remember the exact number for my 3-cone, but it was top 5 even in the big combine.
So you had top 5 3-cone drill. Too. Okay.
Yep. So we talk about the lifting, right? So remember I said I didn't like lifting, so I never took it serious. And that was one of the things that lacked in my pro day. Okay. I didn't do a lot of reps on my 225. Okay. You know what I mean? So that hurt me. Right. But see, now I look back on all the people I fought when I was in high school that was telling me you gotta lift, you gotta be stronger, you gotta get stronger, you gotta get stronger. Then I was at the point in my life where I needed it the most.
You needed it the most.
And you wasn't ready.
And I wasn't ready for it because I never took it serious because I didn't like lifting. No, I ain't lifting, I don't need to lift. I never lifted. I got all the way here and I never lifted. So why I need it now.
So the lifting part. You feel like that was the one piece that was just kind of like.
I mean, I feel like it was something that I could have did better, but I know that wasn't something that hindered me.
Because you had some people looking at you in the drive too, like we're going to.
So I mean, it was opportunities there. Long story short, during that process, from the time I played in the bowl game, the Sugar Bowl that year, the BCS Sugar Bowl that year, to the time,
Combine's coming. Played in the Sugar Bowl. Yeah.
When I played in that year, some things were going on with my father. He was being indicted on some charges.
Okay.
I know you said you wanted to go into that, but
because this kind of tells kind of how you kind of didn't make the league, or kind of what hindered you from going to the league. So
right. So my father was being indicted on some charges, and actually I had gotten indicted before I had went to the Sugar Bowl.
Okay.
Before we had left, they had issued me some papers.
The feds, or
yeah, and I didn't the feds. I knew nothing about it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I knew nothing about what was going on with my father because he kept it to himself. But they came and issued us papers. You know what I'm saying? So I called him up and I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Don't worry about it." I was wondering, like, "Don't worry about it. I'm taking care of it." You know, so that was on my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went through the combine. And it got real, and it was like everything started coming out of what was going on with my pops. So when I finished everything, by the time I finished the combine and it was time, I didn't even get drafted, whatever. So I came home. So usually when you don't get drafted, you still go through the process. You work out, you try to get a call up to get into a practice or get into a camp. So during that time, I had two options. So at the time, I was having my daughter as well, right?
Okay.
My daughter was on the way as well, but my pop was being indicted, so he found out that he had got 14 years.
Gotcha.
So they gave him 14 years, and at the time, my brother was on probation. So I had to make a decision because I knew everything that my dad was upholding at that time. He kind of held the weight of the family a little bit. You know what I mean? He was holding the weight of it. So in my mind, I'm like, he gone, I'm next up. You know what I'm saying? I got to do what I got to do. But I could take the risk of going and trying to make the league and potentially not making the league and then push myself and my family that much farther back. Or I can say I get it out the mud and I come here and do what I got to do.
Because you did graduate.
Yeah, because I did graduate. So I graduated in 2011. Maybe I was in grad school at that point. I got into a social work
program, the social work program.
Yep. So I got into that, but I did graduate. So I'm like, I got to get it out the mud. You know what I mean? Like, my people need me more than ever right now, and I got to put my dreams on the back burner so that I can be here for family, because it's family over everything.
And your daughter.
And my little girl was coming.
And so you had an option, an NFL team, where you was going to go to camp?
I literally stopped at that moment.
So you stopped everything?
After the draft, I stopped everything. It wasn't no cause. It wasn't trying to get over to C's. It wasn't trying to work out. It was now what I got to do, because my pops, before he left, he like, man, listen, I don't want you to feel like this is a burden. He said, but I know if it's anybody I can count on, I can count on you. That's what he told me before he left. You know what I mean?
So, because he was, we talked about this before, a lot, like you said, over 30 people told on your father.
Yeah, so it was about 30 plus people testified against my dad in this case, which, and they asked him to testify, and he was like, look, I'm a man, so if this is what you guys, if you're asking me to point my fingers at somebody else, for what I may be responsible for, I'm not gonna do it. So just go ahead and do what y'all gotta do. So he ended up getting 14 years, and it's time. It's people that kill people don't get 14 years.
Yeah,
right. You talk about that,
and it wasn't a violent crime.
It wasn't a violent crime. Nope. It was
some white collar stuff.
Yep. Some white collar crime, and but yeah, so they ended up giving him 14 years, and you know what I'm saying? I don't take back what I did, the decision I made to be here for my family. If I had to do it again, I'd do it again.
Do the same thing.
I do the same thing, But I'm here, and I got, you know what I'm saying? I got it out the mud. I had to.
Yeah.
So the attitude and persona that I have, based on from a kid having to prove myself, little black kid going into an all-white school where people really didn't accept me for where I was until
they seen that they could get some out of you.
I started getting some success, and then it was like, okay, it all worked. I mean, it was some genuine people along the way, but for the most part, I was that black kid that had to Nah, don't go to that white school, man.
You and your brother, because you had supreme talent. You guys could have went to a city league school and really helped them as well.
Yeah.
But also the facilities are a lot better there. The coaching, I don't want to say the coaching's better, but the situations were better.
Right. So
more resources.
More resources. Yeah.
Absolutely. So all my life it was, man, don't do that because this gonna happen. You know what I mean? Don't do that because this gonna happen. Don't go to that school because they gonna do this. Don't play basketball. You too little. Don't try and play both sports at college. That don't happen. Nobody does that. No, don't try to give up what's the name. There's no way you're gonna be able to make it out here without just trying to go to the league and try to make it on your own with a baby on the way and taking over responsibilities that your father had.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I had people telling me that, and
like telling you to be selfish almost.
yeah, it was just like, don't do that. You know what I mean? It was like, because that's not what the norm is. You know what I mean? It's not the norm to play two sports. It's not the norm. It's not the norm to go to a white school and get some success and have them looking at you in the limelight to where you're somebody to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not the norm. You know what I mean? And that's what was something that I thought was pivotal in my life, and it made me understand my purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like who I am. I feel like I'm a conqueror. You know what I mean? And what I believe in is, no matter what, if I put my mind to something,
you can
and
do
I really
it.
want to get it done, I'm gonna
It's
get
done.
it done.
It's done.
And what motivates me is the
people saying you can't.
They're saying that I can't, and that's my purpose. And all throughout my life, I've understood my purpose, and that's what's been able to put me in the position that I've been able to be put in.
So let me ask you this. Let me put this question out here, because we've mentioned this on our show before, and we've had the debates, but now that we actually have someone in a position who has went through the experience and knows what it takes, you done went through. College athletes getting paid. What are your thoughts? Do you think they should? Do you think they shouldn't? What is fair? How should it be broken up if you agree with that? And what are you think some pros and cons to that? I know that was a mouthful, but
no.
We talk about that a lot.
Right. My personal opinion is I think players should be compensated. I feel like it should be. I'm not saying they should get paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I think they should be compensated for, advertisement. You go into a Michigan game. Let's just say, for instance, you go to a Michigan game, right?
Right.
110,000.
Right.
On average, a ticket is what, $40? That's an average ticket, $40. That's not counting the
concessions,
parking,
right?
Jersey sales,
right? Do the number, add that up, boom. You talk about 4 or 5 home games per year,
right?
Right. You essentially, the university is taking care of all the athletics just through football,
right?
Right. So if there's some type of percentage that could be broke down to the players, I feel like that's something that should be looked at.
Right.
I feel like that's not something that's unfair. Just because the amount of time that players put in,
and you don't have the ability to do.
You can't work
what an average college can do.
Right. And you're carrying the same class load as a student who doesn't have. Like the person in the band gets the same scholarship, but they don't have the same practices and the injuries and the same schedule. And you're not coming home for Christmas and Thanksgiving. You may get a day or two here, but you're not getting all that stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, do you think it should be based? Should it be like a base, like every college athlete gets this, or should it be determined on what sport you play? Because like you just said, 110,000 people coming to watch football.
Right.
They're not there for water polo.
That's true.
Should it be the same, or should it be different? Like, what do you and I'm glad that you're here so we can get this.
I think it depended on the school, the profits that they bring in. I think that's how it should go, right? That's how it should be managed, right? So it'll be unfair for a bigger university to get paid the same as the university maybe not bringing that amount in. That's not fair to the university as well, right? They can't pay this set amount. They're not bringing that in, right? So they got to evaluate the money that they're bringing in, the profits that they're bringing in, and be able to divide that between the players that's going to that school.
Yeah,
and so do you think that all, say at Michigan, all college athletes, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, tennis, soccer, whatever, should all of those athletes say this is the pot? Should everyone get an equal amount regardless of whatever? Or is it that because you play football and this generates more revenue than soccer, you're going to get more? Should it be like that, or should it just be every athlete at the University of Michigan will get this?
I think it just would have to depend on what that sport is bringing in.
Okay.
Right, the individual sport.
Percentage of their revenue.
Right, percentage of that revenue, and it would have to be fair on both parties. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm not saying there has to be
because the football team is bigger.
Right, the football team is bigger. You know?
Right.
So, and I think personally it should be based on who plays the most. If you're a starting quarterback, you should get more than the guy sitting on the bench, and it should be more so based upon the time spent and everything you have to do, because some kids who are also on the football team are going to be doctors and lawyers too, so that matters. I wanted to kind of fast forward a little bit. So you kind of established a career, you became a father, homeowner, you started coaching high school sports as well, and then we kind of want to get into the situation that just happened recently, kind of what you're here to kind of clear up your name as well, because we talked about this too, so a little backstory, you were into a little controversy recently, or about a year ago now, right? It's been about a year, and they had you on the news, they had you in the newspaper, and they kind of used your celebrity against you. So if you kind of want to touch on that situation and kind of the injustice there, because at the end of the day, with the whole situation, you weren't charged with anything, and but the damage was done. Right. The damage was done to your name, to your character, and it's kind of hard. You got to fight back from that. So if you want to kind of touch on that situation just a little bit.
And I use this as a joke, but like when everything happened, the situation happened, you know, people like, you on the news, like you on the news. I'm like, I've been on the news.
Right.
Yeah, this is nothing new. Yeah.
Right.
New to me. I've been on the news.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All publicity is good publicity. You know what I mean?
At some point, yeah.
At some point, it's all good publicity. You know what I mean? And I say that like wholeheartedly. You know, and you know, basically what happened with my situation is, you know, and I guess where I can start. I mean, you want me to start all the way from the beginning?
You can start from the, you went to East Grand Rapids, but you also grew up in the inner city of Grand Rapids as well, and so you have some friends, some guys you grew up with, and I guess that's kind of like the backstory. So it's kind of association type of thing, and which they didn't do what the police or the news said they did either.
Right.
So they kind of blew the situation up, so we kind of can start there. So that's kind of like the backstory.
Right. So I guess the backstory is right. So I got kind of like the best of both worlds, right? I had a father who worked his way up to be really, really successful and to own businesses and to put me in a situation where I'm living in East Grand Rapids. And I got a mother who's successful, because I don't go range success off money, but she's successful because she worked her ass off her entire life, right? I watched my mom get up every morning at 4:45 in the morning just to travel to the other side of the city, right, to work in the factory just to make ends meet, you know. So my father was here in East Grand Rapids, and my mother was over here just down the street on Logan. You know what I'm saying, Logan and Fuller, where it wasn't white people walking their dogs outside, where you needed a pass to walk down the street over there. You know what I mean? So I saw the best of both worlds, and during that time, you know, I got friends in the East and I got friends on that side of town. You know, but long story short, you know, I met my best friend when I was 4 or 5 years old, you know what I mean? And that was the co-defendant in the case. So basically what the case was, they tried to charge me with conspiracy to deliver, maintaining a drug house.
Marijuana.
Yep, marijuana, and possession of marijuana. But I had my best friend, whatever, who's been my best friend for 20 plus years. You know, he's always had access to me anytime, you know, he needed me, I was there anytime, vice versa, I needed him, you know what I'm saying, he's been there for me. But long story short, he had just moved out of his place, and I had just got my job that I had working with software, and you know, he needed space, right? He was moving out of space. He needed some space to put his stuff. And I'm like, why you gonna use storage for? Well, you can just put your stuff in my crib. Right. You know what I mean? Like, just use my spot. You got the key. You come here all the time.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether I'm here or not, you can use it. However you gonna use it, you gonna use it. You know what I mean? As far as like, if you bring a friend over, whatever the case was. Not to say that's what we're promoting. But
it's all about hot pockets, guys. Just there to eat hot pockets.
You know what I'm saying?
It's all free reign. Whatever you want to do.
Do what you gotta do. I trust you. You know what I'm saying? You my mans.
Yeah.
So, long story short, when I was out of town for a few weeks, and what happened was when I was out of town, he happened to be being watched. You know what I'm saying? He was being watched.
So the government was watching y'all.
They was watching him, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was he had some stuff that he had going on that forced the people to be watching him. So he ended up bringing his stuff in the crib. So they was watching him. So when they was watching him, they watched him come in and out of my house for a small period of time. Well, they catch wind. Oh, that's Kelvin Grady house.
Yeah.
Right? So they try and tie me in. I was never being investigated.
Yeah.
The entire time, I never was being investigated. My house was being investigated because he was going in and out of the house.
Gotcha.
Right?
As a friend, though.
As a friend, yeah.
He wasn't doing. Y'all playing a video game.
Yeah, chilling. You know what I mean? He might come over when I'm not there. His son went to school down the street from where I lived at, so after work he might come there until his son get out of school, or get his son and bring him here. Yeah. His son and my daughter are like best friends.
Gotcha.
Like it was just a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be frank, he really didn't need a explanation of why he was coming to my house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because your friend.
That's my man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, long story short, he gets pulled over with 13.
Before that, they followed you guys to Miami.
Oh yeah. So we took a trip. It was my boy's birthday. So we usually on birthdays we take a trip. We call it the world tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
The world tour.
Right.
Okay.
But keep in mind, you know what I mean? Like this time, we wasn't doing. We were supposed to go to Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, let's go to Atlanta. So I'm like, all right, whatever. We go to Atlanta, right? So we just fly on the humbug. We get to Atlanta. Well, rumor has it, they sent somebody to follow us on the trip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they followed us on the trip, apparently.
Yeah.
Whoever they sent to follow, I'm just like, I bet they had a good time. If they really was following us,
Right.
they had a good time. We in Atlanta, we having a ball. We went to basketball game, you know what I'm saying? Went to the club, we went to the, you know what I'm saying?
Strip club, all that.
Yeah, we had a good time. We in Atlanta. So, long story short, they follow us or whatever. We wake up that next morning, we was all night having a good time. We woke up the next morning, like, let's go to Miami. So,
And let's let it be noted, you guys, your friend is a college graduate.
Oh, yeah.
He has a graduate's degree.
Yep.
Had a great job. You have a great job. Everybody here are college graduates.
Yep.
Young professionals.
Young
successful
professionals.
And make great money.
Making great money. Everybody make well over $50,000-$60,000 a year. Great money. So you guys get up in Atlanta.
So we get in Atlanta. We wake up the next morning. They playing around. They like, man, let's go to Miami. I'm like, man, come on, man, y'all playing.
So you thinking they joking?
Yeah, they're like, no, let's do it. So they like, I just booked mine. I'm like, all right, let me book mine. So I booked my flight. You know what I'm saying? We fly out to Miami.
Okay.
Well, see, we happen to go to the two places that like.
It's a lot of drug
There's
traffic.
a lot of drug trafficking, right?
So they thinking y'all meeting people.
Like
and
meeting people, like, oh, you don't nobody just go to Atlanta and party and then go over to Miami and party. Like, what y'all on? You know what I mean? But really, we just was having a good time.
We on the world tour.
We on the world tour.
And
Right.
Three guys making almost combined $200,000 together.
Yeah.
So it's like.
So we went, we had a good time, you know what I mean? We ended up flying back, right? We flew back. So a week later,
You had a guy wearing a wire around y'all too, right?
rumor has it, somebody was wearing wires around and people talking, and that linked to, I guess, my best friend getting pulled over, you know what I'm saying? Whatever what happened there, that led them to my house, right? So whoever the detective was or whoever it was said, well, we saw him going out of Kelvin Grady house. That must be where he's keeping it.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go to his house. So 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I had just got off the phone, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. All I hear, boom, 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 boom. I wake up out of my sleep. But keep in mind, I'm asleep how I'm asleep, right? I don't got no clothes. I'm comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
You sleep.
I'm sleeping comfortable.
You at home.
I'm at the crib. I'm sleeping comfortable. So I hit the knock. Boom, boom, boom. So I get up. I'm like, man, what I done made, man?
You think somebody come and see you?
They can't even see me.
Yeah.
So I peep over the top of the window. And I got 3 pistols. And I got 4 shotguns pointing at me. Don't fucking move. And I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
So I put my hands up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the stuff that's been going on, my hands up. Do not shoot me, please.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had the thing, they was about to tear down the door. And I'm like, look, don't beat my door down. I would come open my door. I'm the only person in this house. I am not a threat. You know what I'm saying? But keep in mind, I'm still
Sleep comfortable.
sleep comfortable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, long story short, they end up beating the door down. And they come up the stairs, you know what I'm saying? And the police officer, you got the gun to my face, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I am not look at me.
You have no record.
First of all, I got no record, but I don't got no clothes on.
Where am I hiding the gun?
What, I'm not a threat to you. Put your gun down, officer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they ended up handcuffing me, just detaining me. They wasn't taking me in. So they ended up detaining me, you know what I'm saying? They arrested me. Still at this point, I'm like, look, can you put some shorts on me, my man? Because ain't no reason for y'all not to be able to put no shorts on me. So he ended up didn't tell me, we're just going to detain you. We got a warrant to search your house, blah, blah, blah. We're going to put you in a van. They sat me in a van, and they get to asking me questions about, you know, hey, we got your buddy. You guys are, you know, we know what's been going on, and we've been watching, and just a whole line of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So finally we got to talking. I stopped talking. I asked for my lawyer. You know what I'm saying? So I get the lawyer. I mean, I asked for the lawyer at the time. You know, to start the conversation or whatever. So like I said I allowed him to use the crib. So detective comes up. You know what I'm saying? With the barrels, which was one they tried to connect the conspiracy thing. Well, this is conspiracy. And I'm like, man, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Literally, like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I just pulled your buddy over and I found these exact things. This is conspiracy. I'm like, man, whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no connection to me with none of this. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And my thing was too throughout the thing was like, okay, if you're investigating me, right? If you're wholeheartedly investigating me, I know for a fact you know I had nothing.
You know I had nothing to do with this.
Right.
You know I had nothing to do with this. You know what I'm saying?
If you're telling the truth. So now if you're lying, you're trying to basically entrap me.
You're trying to entrap me, right?
Yeah, right.
So then that's when they come and they say they got this whole cooperation thing, right? So it's like cooperate. Well, I had nothing to cooperate with.
You don't know how to sell drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it ended up happening. It went through whatever. So long story short, they checked the house. They got the barrels. They let me go, right?
Yeah.
They come back 2 days later, and they hit me with, let me explain this, right? Let me explain. So they come in, they got the barrels out of my house. So this is what they found in my house. They found 6 barrels. They took my pistols.
Legally registered pistols.
Yeah. They took my car, and they took it because it was an Audi.
They took it Audi.
They took my money.
Froze your
Because
bank.
you can't have an Audi.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm not supposed to have that.
You're not supposed to have an
You're
Audi.
selling drugs, buddy.
You're not supposed to have
And
an Audi.
you're in East Grand Rapids.
Right.
You're in
That's
a
what I
very
mean.
nice neighborhood,
Right.
and they froze your bank accounts.
Yep. Say held me up. But yeah, so they did all that. So also what they found, I didn't say they found this because they didn't find it. When they didn't find it. So when I'm talking in the car, once I told the first detective, look, I want my lawyer, they sent another detective in the car basically to try to like calm me down and get me comfortable and thinking that I know something, but I really
Because
don't.
he's playing towards a celebrity. I'm a fan of yours.
Right, so then he come, ESPN, and how you think Michigan will be this year, and da-da-da. Are you cold? Do you want me to turn the heat up? And blah, blah, blah. So he get to going. He's like, look, man, we want the heroin, and we want the cocaine. We want the big stuff. We don't care about the little stuff. Just give us the big stuff. I'm like, my man, if you looking for some heroin and cocaine, you definitely came to the wrong
address.
The wrong address. So after a while, I'm get to thinking, I'm like, okay, I know I smoke personal marijuana. Not all the time, once, probably every 3-4 months, if it's an occasion and I do it, right? I happen to have some marijuana in the house, so I tell them, I'm like, look, I got some little personal marijuana in the house. That's the only thing you're gonna find in my house, though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I tell them where it's at. It's probably about, I told them it was like 4 grams. I thought it was like 4 grams, but really it was like 1.5 grams. And in the paper, it said, under my paper, it's 3 grams. But when they take the marijuana, they weigh
The bag,
the
too.
bag and the marijuana, so it ended up being 3, but it really was like 1.5 grams.
Gotcha.
Right? So when they came back to arrest me 2 days later,
So they let you go.
they let me go. Yeah, you can go. You can go.
They knocked your door down.
They knocked the door down. Yep.
They took your car, your money, and then told you to go back in the house.
Yeah, and tell me to go back in the house. Right?
No apologies, no
Oh,
nothing.
no, ain't no apologies. No. We tearing this down. Oh, the guy said, you need to think about who you're hanging out with, and we're gonna be here more often, right? That's what he said before he left. Cool. All right. So then they came 2 days later. They came 2 days. They arrested me, and my charges were conspiracy to deliver, manufacturing, maintaining a drug house, and the possession. So the officer who got I told where the marijuana was that wasn't looking for the big drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't looking for the little drugs. They wanted the heroin and the cocaine and all the big drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
I got charged with the 3 grams that he said he wasn't looking for.
Yeah.
So they put that on it, right?
Okay.
So long story short, that's what the 3 charges that I was charged with. And my thing was, I understand that you got to do an investigation, but I also understand that if you charge somebody with these type of crimes, right, you got to have some thorough information behind it.
Right.
And it can't be some barrels that you found in my basement.
Some empty barrels.
Some empty barrels that you found in my basement.
That you can get at a hardware store.
That you can get at a hardware store.
So they didn't ask you where you got the barrels from, none of that. They just...
And from the jump, I'm like, I was honest about it. I was like, those are my barrels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact behind it, the person that I was, my best friend, was telling them, like, from the jump, from the time they got him till a whole year, the case took a year.
We're talking about a weed case.
Yeah, we're talking about a weed case.
Took a year.
Right.
And so like you said, when the guy came back to get you, like he wrote it. You said that you told me.
Oh,
before.
so I had a detective, right? So when the detective came and got me on the
second time,
2 days later, you know what I'm saying? I'm coming out. I'm getting my door fixed that they beat down.
And this is East Grand Rapids Police.
Well,
or is it
sheriff?
No, these are the feds.
Yeah. Oh, feds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I come out the door. So the guy got the guy there to fix the door. So he fixing my door. You know what I mean? And so he fixing the door. I walk outside to get the mail. I see a blue unmarked car fly by. I said,
you knew what time it was.
I knew what time it was because I knew they was coming back, and I kept saying that they're coming back because they feel I know something.
Mm-hmm. They want to try to put pressure on me.
So they want to put the pressure on me.
You have no record.
Right.
You're a celebrity.
So I'm a name. I can blow the story up.
Right.
So anyway, they ended up coming get me. So the officer come walking up to me. He like, hey, it hurts me to do this. I watched you play, and I hope that I wasn't. He was like, I wasn't the detective on this case. I hope that it's true that this is not something that you did. I'm gonna give you my number. You know what I'm saying? Gave me his number, wrote it on the card. I still got the card to this day. Gave me the number and was like, if you beat this, call me and let me know. All that. Like,
yeah, he wants to kind of want to hang out, want to be cool with you. Yeah.
So I ended up taking me in or whatever, and from there it took a whole year, man. They put me on a tether, GPS. They labeled me a flight risk. They labeled me a flight risk, but they gave me a PR bond. I don't know how that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people don't know personal recognition is basically saying we trust that he's coming back. That he's gonna come back.
He's never been in trouble.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So he's never been in trouble.
But you're a flight risk.
But I'm a flight risk. So
that shouldn't own an Audi.
That shouldn't own an Audi. Yeah. And have a car.
So they put a tether on you.
Right. So they put a tether on me.
And what was your probation stipulations?
So
wait, not just your probation stipulations,
but my bond. So,
yeah.
So basically, what the stipulations was, I couldn't smoke, couldn't have any alcohol in my system, I couldn't be around my best friend. I couldn't have any police contact. And this go back to the whole Meek Mill thing. How y'all?
The whole Meek Mill situation where he was on 10 years probation.
Mm-hmm.
Any police contact labels it a violation. So that's a traffic stop.
It could be a traffic stop.
That could be a cop just jaywalking, a cop seeing you and stopping you for no reason. And then now we're talking about, so at this point, your face has been on the news. Mm-hmm. You've been on ESPN. Mm-hmm. You've been on CNN, all for this weed bust. Mm-hmm. They had you across newspapers. They had you smeared across every news station locally and some national news stations. Mm-hmm. You could have lost your job.
Right.
And now they're telling you not to have police contact.
Yep, so no police contact. Can't have no police contact. So, and in that case, that's a direct violation. That can make me pay basically the PR bond that I have or send me back to jail until my case was resolved.
Okay.
So that's kind of like I think what Meek Mill was talking about and speaking of is, I feel free, but I don't feel free, because I really can't live. You know what I mean?
Because anything can happen.
Anything can happen. You know what I mean?
And now you're labeled.
And now you labeled.
And you had nothing to do with this.
Yep, it had nothing to do with it. So I'm labeled. I'm going through it. So now I got to get lawyered up, and I'm paying all type of money all type of money for the lawyer fees and the court fees, because they say you're innocent until proven guilty, but you're really guilty till you can prove you can pay to be innocent.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
The people in the back that didn't hear that.
I want you to look deep into the camera and say that shit real slow.
That's the truth, man. They say that you're innocent until you're proven guilty, but you're really guilty until you can prove you can pay to be innocent, and that's That's the guy. That's the guy on this truth, man. And I went through it personally, and it takes almost sometimes for you to go through it to understand it, because people who are like against the whole Meek Mill thing and the movement and how people say it's unjust, they don't understand it because they've never been through a situation.
Right. They don't know what it's like.
They don't know what it's like.
And then to have, like you said, I'm not. You play football and basketball in Michigan. You're from the area. You're known in the area. And so now imagine Meek Mill being known nationally. Mm-hmm. They had you on SportsCenter. They had you on CNN or another website.
It was more local,
but I've seen it on some national sites. Mm-hmm. So now if somebody Googles your name,
that pulls up.
Mm-hmm. And what was the verdict with that whole situation?
So basically, as it went through, they went through, and I hired my lawyer. What they had was the barrels. Yeah. And they wouldn't release the evidence that they had for like 4 months. They was ignoring my lawyer. Mm-hmm. My lawyer couldn't get to them.
So he couldn't prepare a proper defense.
Right. So they didn't. So long story short, the evidence was the barrels, right? So I'm like, okay, if that's your evidence and you feel like that's a direct something that's directly to me, and you don't believe what I'm saying to my best friend saying, run the fingerprints on the barrels. Run the fingerprints. Right. So they waited. Finally, they run the fingerprints on the barrels. Nothing. That's thrown out. Okay. Right. So that was on there. Then you say so the barrels was connected to the
whole case.
Conspiracy to deliver, right? Because I got the barrels, I'm delivering, right? Yeah. But I ain't touched the barrels. Right. So they didn't magically appear in my house, and I didn't touch them. Right? So, long story short, then they say maintaining a drug house. So, if anybody knows anything about maintaining a drug house, you either have to have paraphernalia, like whether it's a scale, growing material, they have to have proof somebody's coming in your house and making a purchase. They make a purchase, or they sent the conformant in to make a purchase.
Send the informant in,
bring the informant in, to make a purchase. You got to have those things, right? None of those things were the case. Right, they got the barrels that was there,
but those are thrown out.
And that's thrown out.
They got the barrels that was there. Mm-hmm. I'm confident as hell. I'm like, dude, you don't have any of those things because there's never been nothing sold out of my house. I don't sell drugs.
Right. Yeah.
I don't sell no drugs. Ain't nobody coming to my house. I got friends that don't even know where I live at, let alone trying to sell some drugs out of my house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how it is. So that ended up having to get thrown out, the conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? So now the maintain a drug house gets thrown out all of a sudden. So basically now, and it's a funny story, man, in the courtroom, man, with my best friend. Not funny, but it's real. Because Grand Rapids, I think it's a 97% conviction rate in Grand Rapids. Yeah. Like I literally was the 3%, and I was and basically what happened was, it was in court. It was like basically we got all the way to the top floor, right? We got probably one of the worst judges you could get in Grand Rapids. You know what I mean? We got the worst one you could get. So basically, we got to the top floor, right? My best friend lawyer, my lawyer, is back with the prosecutor and talking with them like, listen here, the evidence that you have does not hold up.
It's bullshit.
It's bullshit. You created that shit, you pulled that wherever you pulled it out of. You got the best friend who is the conspirator, the co-conspirator, saying he had nothing to do with it.
Saying you had nothing to do with it.
Saying he had nothing to do with it. So now you're going to have to say this. So if it is somebody running out of a house and he is dealing drugs and you have been watching him, then bring that to the table right now. If you can't bring that to the table right now,
bring the evidence.
Bring the evidence. If you can't do that, because you're going to have to show somebody buying. Mm-hmm. You got to show all that shit. You got to show all that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, the only other person that's going to testify against him is his best friend. Right? So the best friend is saying he has nothing to do with it.
And he's saying you did nothing involved.
Right. So we in the courtroom, right? So basically he says, my lawyer said to him, like, you got nothing. So she's like, you know what? I'm gonna offer him something less. And he's gonna flip on him.
So they wanted your friend.
Yeah, he's like he's gonna say differently because I'm gonna offer him less time. Right? So she offered him like a 0 to 3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So he wouldn't have to go to jail.
Right, so basically wouldn't have to go to jail. So,
because they want you.
They want me. They don't, at this point, I feel like they didn't even care about the case. They just wanted me.
To say they locked you up.
To say I got his ass. We knew it. We knew his ass was doing something.
So, and at this point, your friend is telling them that you didn't do anything. Right. They have evidence saying you didn't do anything, and they want you as a trophy.
They want me as a trophy. That's what I feel personally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we're in the courtroom, and no, my lawyer come running out the back of the thing. He's like, listen, he was like, I know you didn't have nothing to do with this, but that prosecutor just offered your friend less time to give a testimony against, not against you, but a testimony about you.
Yeah.
Right? And his lawyer accepted it. To give it so I'm like, he's like, so what you think he gonna say? I'm looking at Dennis, I'm like, he gonna say I ain't got nothing to do with it because I don't got the shit to do with this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he like, okay, he's about to go in the courtroom right now and he's about to go under oath. So if he do this, we in a whole nother ball game. You know what I mean? So we end up going in the courtroom and shit, and we sitting there. I'm in the back, you know. My hands sweat. I know.
You know your boy not gonna do it.
But still, it's like,
it could.
Bro,
is it gonna happen like this?
They can do anything over their freedom. They think about their girl. They think about, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So she asked, she like, on this night, did you get pulled over? He like, yes. You know what I mean? Do you understand that's illegal? He like, yes. Then she got to me. As far as Kelvin Grady, did he have any involvement? Was he a part of it? This nigga paused for like 3 seconds.
That's the longest 3 seconds in your life.
So like 20 minutes.
So you shit at that Duke, you shit at the big house, and now you gotta go to the bathroom in the court.
What's that smell?
So now you gotta go to the bathroom back there.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, this nigga. But I knew the whole thing. That's my man. So he ended up saying, no, he had nothing to do with this. Man, that prosecutor, she damn near wanted to lift that table up and throw it across the thing. So then she like, no deal. And I ain't gonna get into my best friend's story, but he got a hell of a story himself.
Yeah.
She took away his deal, and he did exactly what she said. She said, she gave honest testimony about Kelvin Grady.
And he gave an honest testimony.
He gave an honest testimony, and she had the right as a prosecutor to go back on that, and he did it under oath.
And they took the deal.
And
that was legal.
And just. So they take that away. So now you think about that, and you bring that to the table. So now you mean to tell me
he did everything by the terms.
He did everything by terms. She said, give an honest testimony about Kelvin Grady. He gave an honest testimony. It's under oath right now. It's under paperwork right now. That she said that, and he abided by everything she said. And she said, nope, no deal, taken away. He looked at the judge. The judge says, I can't do anything about it. She said she's taking it away after he had already sworn under oath. So that's just more than his. You know,
that's more.
Right.
And we'll talk to him later. You know. And so after that happened, you didn't get charged with anything.
Nope. So basically, what she did was she was mad. So she like, oh, we can't get him on that. We're gonna try to stick him with the 2 grams of marijuana that we got on him. Shit that motherfuckers have in they ashtray.
Well, weed is almost legal now too.
Right. And where I lived at. So you can get, what is it?
A medical marijuana card.
Or if you don't have a medical marijuana card, you can have up to 2 ounces on you, and it's a ticket, I think. It's up to a ticket in the right
jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction. And where I lived at,
that's the jurisdiction.
I had way under the limit, so really I should have got a $25 ticket for it.
Yeah.
And leave me the fuck alone.
And really you only knew about it because you didn't find it, because I told you.
And that should have been something with it.
That should have been something with it. Look, he was honest. He told us what it was. Let's get this man a $25 ticket and let him get out of here. So they basically did what they call a 7411. They gave me what they call a 7411. Basically, they wanted some money out of me. Okay. Right? So I had to pay them a fine. And then for 3 months, I couldn't get in trouble. And then everything was thrown out, basically. So it took me, I had to go for 3 months.
And this whole case situation,
so
trial
basically,
thing,
your freedom, your life was suspended for 3 months.
No, longer than that, because this is a year-long process.
At the end, even more.
Yeah, so add on another 3 months. And then my probation, let me tell you what the probation lady did. So so the probation lady, she was like, the judge, it was like on the paperwork, he was saying, well, you know, counseling is something if your probation officer thinks you need the counseling.
Yeah.
So she throws in my dad, like, oh, you got, you know, some thing, you know, with your dad.
With your father.
You need to think about that and bring that in, and just saying a whole bunch of shit that don't even got nothing to do with the case at hand.
So they made you go to counseling.
So she makes me go to counseling.
Okay.
But my counseling was for like the marijuana. And I'm like, listen, lady, if I had a real problem where I need to be in here, I was on probation. So when I got out of jail, when I bonded out, when I got the PR bond, from that time all the way up to the time where the judge gave me the 7411 or whatever the case was, I was being dropped like twice a week.
For a year.
For a year.
Right.
I'm like, I've never.
For liquor too.
Yeah, for liquor too. I'm like, I've never dropped dirty one time. I've never been late one time. You can go ask that, because they switched POs. Like, I was on it for so long, they switched to gave me a different PO. So I was like, you can go ask the last person I was with. They'll tell you I was completely doing whatever he asked me to do, whatever he asked me to do. She made me go to counseling, bro, for weed. So I'm like, you know what, whatever. It's part
Did you have to pay out your pocket for that too?
Yep. So you gotta pay for all that. Everything costs. You gotta pay for the counseling. The counseling's like $150 or something, $150 every time you go in there and see him. You know what I mean? So
did they give you like a mandatory minimum of how many sessions that you had to have?
She wanted me to. She wanted me to do a lot more, but the guy was like, I spoke with him. He like, look, you know, she wants you to do more. This is how many I think that you need. You know, I'm gonna recommend that you get this. I want to go see him. And really, the whole time we was just shooting the shit. We just was talking. You know what I mean?
Football stuff.
I mean, we was talking. He talked some real life stuff. He talked about marijuana, putting yourself in a situation. But honestly, my situation could have happened to anybody.
And without the money to fight the case or the moxie, the stuff that you've been through to help you fight through switching sports, and the stuff that happened to your dad, which is a way deeper story than we got into today, and then a year-long process where you had to fight for your freedom. And then the whole thing is still documented. If somebody wants to Google your name, it's going to all pop up, and it's tied to Michigan. So now you have, when you go back around Michigan, people think, oh, he's a weed seller. Right. And luckily, you kept your job. So your boss at your job kind of rolled with you. So that was a good point with it, because you had a real good job. So your boss rolled with you, but you could have lost your job. They froze your money, took your car, and then they put you on probation, and they made you go to counseling. And she was really vindictive about
because she couldn't get you.
Yeah, the whole time it was like, you're lucky. Just to let you know, you're real lucky. You're lucky. You're lucky. No, I ain't lucky. I ain't lucky, man.
Because you didn't do anything.
I'm innocent. God is good, and He proved it. You know what I mean?
So before we wrap it up, let the people know I'm innocent.
Man, I'm innocent, man. I went through it for a whole year and 3 months, man, and the verdict and the evidence proved that I was completely innocent. You know, I don't have nothing charged on my record. I never stopped. I never changed the person I am, my purpose, who I am as a person. Goals that I want to achieve, to be a good father figure for my daughter. And I want to be just like McMill. I want to be that platform for people that's put in a situation that can't pay for their freedom. Yeah. Right? And they stuck into this system that they put us in, right? Because they can, strictly before they can. They took my boy's plea away because they could. Yeah. Not because it was the right thing to do, because it was the wrong thing to do, but they could do it. Yeah. And they could do it to our people. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that get stuck in that system and they never can get out because they can't.
Because they don't have the resources available.
They don't have to pay for their freedom. And they get stuck in the system and they keep going back because the system is developed for them to continue to go back. And there needs to be something changed about it. But
So in your opinion, where do we start? What's the solution? How can, as a people with limited resources, how can we defeat a system that's set up and hell bent on making us products of, so they can continually take money from us or put us in institutions where they can use us up even more and then make us, less than a citizen when we come out of situations? Like, where do we start in your opinion? What's some of the solutions?
I mean, it's just, I feel like justice reform. I mean, first of all, you gotta have justice reform, right? It has to be something across the board, right? I think that there's different platforms, right? So the case on the guy that raped the girls, the athlete, right? Where the judge gave him 6 months and said, well, he has all his life to live. But then you look at a case like my dad, who did something with some documents, and he get 14 years.
And there's some other people involved.
And there's other people involved. How do you have this threshold where this is like this one judge can say this, and this one judge can say this? I can be sentenced to 20, 30 year, I can get 20, 30 years just because that judge had a bad day. Yeah. Right? There isn't, it isn't
no
really,
checks and balances.
Right. It's no checks and balances. And I think there needs to be something created. And that's what I mean by reform, right? It needs to be something across the board, right? It can't be, well, Susie's dad is the owner of such and such, so she gets off from his DUI. But Kelvin Grady is a living icon, and he should know better not to do this because he's an icon. Let's throw the book at him.
Right. They make an example.
They make an example out.
And you talking about like your brother?
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you, man. Like, you could have easily beat the judge's kid in a basketball game or football game and not even know it. Or their kid could not like you. And then the news kind of just ran with it. They put your picture on the front page, and it was just kind of crazy, man.
And when everything came out in the air, there was no other.
No, it was
no. There was no other stories. There was no other follow up.
There was no other. And that's the thing I say too, because I'm like. Cause like, say right now, let's just say I wanted to get another job, or I was looking up to stay at a different place, as this, you know what I mean? Like
all of that is
that pops up.
Yes, all of that is attached.
So you have to explain that for the rest of your life.
You have to explain that, but because the thing is, because the news don't want to bring that out. Like I was watching the news the other day about the doctor or somebody who was being charged with like beating kids or something like that. And he ended up beating the case, and they put it on the news. Oh well, he was acquitted of this and this and that.
You had no news, no nothing if you were acquitted.
Nothing after that. After I was acquitted, nobody ever came to follow up to say, "Oh, what happened? Was this cleared up?"
None of the sports reporters, nothing.
No sports reporters, no anything. And I've actually reached out to some sports reporters
to come like, "Yo, just tell my story." So hopefully this helps.
Right.
So before we go, just give me your social media handles real quick. And then so they can see the videos you doing on crazy workouts, man. But give me social media handles real quick, and
so y'all can follow me on Instagram, K_Grady19. I do a lot of workout videos on there, a lot of with my daughter, because my daughter is the center of my life, and a lot of the reason why I was able to stay strong throughout this entire process and been able to be strong since she was born is because she's been that reason for me to be able to be strong and to show her that. You know, first of all, I'm a great father, I'm a good man, and I want to be something that she can see so she can idolize and to grow up and know the value of, you know, a good man and the value of herself. So that's what I'm at.
We appreciate you coming and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, for sure, man. And maybe, and we'll get a part 2 of the more as things progress and your success picks up. And I know you got some things going on, maybe some speaking engagements and some more coaching jobs and things like that. So we really appreciate it, man. And on that note, we out of here, man. So
do me a favor.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
Just basically
take a picture.
Do a drop.
Oh, you do it. Oh, you gonna do a drop? You want him by himself?
Y'all could be.
Nah, he should probably be by himself.
You can say
I do want to get a picture with y'all though.
Yeah, we're gonna do a picture.
So you can probably like, yo, this is Kelvin Grady, and you want to, and you tune. What you gonna say? You tuned in? You watching? Or you listening to Two Bright Guys?
Yeah, you can just say listen.
Okay. So you can say that, like, yo, this is
Kelvin Grady, and you tuned in to Two Bright Guys.
Listening to Two Bright Guys.
All right. This is Kelvin Grady, and you listening to Two Bright Guys.